Yo, the game is over. The Birmingham Bowl comes to a close, and unfortunately, Auburn falls to Houston 17-13. Auburn is now on a 5-game losing streak and is 6-7 on the season. Guys, come on in here. Yeah, it's disappointing for sure. It's disappointing. I have thoughts. Y'all have thoughts. You're already letting us know in the comments how you feel about it. I'm gonna start with you, B.
Oh, okay.
How you feeling, man?
Give me a minute. Not give me a minute. I need a second. I need a second to take these thoughts and feelings and put them together. See.
This is pretty much this. I will go while you get your thoughts together. This is pretty much the conclusion. This is pretty much what the 2021 season has been all along. We've had strong play defensively, kept us in the game for our offense to do something, and when it comes down to it, our offense can't get the job done. And so this is solely on our offense. It's really solely on our offense. I'm not a fan necessarily of some of the play calls and the fact that we did use Tank enough down the stretch of the game. He was very effective at points when we utilized him, but I just feel like we just didn't execute. We had opportunities. I felt like we got a little conservative in the second half offensively. It seems like Harsin was comfortable with riding a three-point lead to the end, and we got put in a situation where we had to get 7 or a touchdown, and we couldn't do it. So I think that with the inconsistent play, again, this was a game that TJ needed going into spring. TJ was 19 of 37, 227 yards. And a TD, no interceptions. But there were some throws that he just clearly missed. I was very surprised at the fact that he just could not hit guys downfield. That was a surprise. That was a surprise to me, B. Before we get to the super chats, I just want to know, have you collected your thoughts? This pretty much what I got to say. I'm just surprised he couldn't hit these guys.
Yeah, TJ ain't it. TJ ain't it. As the first guy to bail on Bo Nix this season, I am now. We are 3 starts into the TJ Finley era. I'm out on TJ. He had a couple throws that looked good and some drops, which doesn't help. But I mean, hey, Bo had a bunch of drops. People were dropping the ball all over the place on Bo. And if we're gonna be fair about the performance that Bo was putting up with a mediocre offensive line and guys dropping his balls, we got to be the same way about TJ Finley's performance. And what we've seen for 3 straight games now is poor mechanics, rushing on throws, overthrowing, wide open wide receivers down the field. When you have all the arm, you've got to hit wide open guys. Like, you have the arm to hit those guys. These were things that Bo was doing and we were hammering him for. And now, specifically this game, those missed throws were the game. That's it. Those missed throws were the game in its entirety. Now, the offensive line wasn't playing great in the run game first half. Second half, they were, which is why we got those wide open guys going down the field. They had to come load the box up to stop the run. And when they did, a wide receiver got wide open.
Gotta hit them.
What else are we gonna do? What else are we supposed to do?
Gotta hit them.
Make them pay. Go over the top. Gotta hit them. That was it.
Gotta
For a
hit
guy
'em.
who practiced for 3 straight weeks as the starter, this is not a situation where you're getting part of the reps. You're getting mental reps, but you only get a few physical snaps in practice or no game reps most of the year. No, you were getting all of the reps in practice. You had 3 or 4 quarters, and really the first 3 quarters, even though as rough as they were, he makes that throw. Honestly, that touchdown, if we get that touchdown, that's it. That's the game. If
Right.
that the first overthrow after the turnover, if that's a touchdown, that's likely the game. That's it.
Then you had
All we
another
needed.
opportunity. Then you had
And he
another
had
opportunity on third down and missed them.
plenty of shots, plenty of opportunities. The biggest weakness across all 4 quarters was quarterback. So TJ, he wanted to come here so he could have an opportunity to start and show what he could do. And I have been consistent about this since we knew TJ was going to start coming into this game. And that is that this was his chance. This was his audition with nobody in his way, with no excuses, with the coach who makes all the executive decisions about the quarterback position and about the team, being the person who is game planning for you, who's calling plays for you. So there's no mystery as to whether or not Bobo is playing and calling plays according to what Harsin wants to do. No, the guy is game planning and calling those plays. And you didn't show up. You didn't do what needed to be done. That was the difference in the game.
This is his job to lose, pretty much. And he didn't make a strong case for hanging on to it. Spring is a whole different story. He can compete and do well in spring. This was not a good lead into spring for TJ. This is not the performance he wanted. And I'm pretty sure he would agree with that. This is not the performance he wanted. And now there is a clamor for new blood, someone else to come in. We got a lot of super chats. Let's get to them, B. Justin Thomas asks, why must we suffer? That is a good question, Justin. Question I'm going to be pondering for today and for much of the offseason. Bryson Bridges says, I'm starting to GoFundMe for the whole defense so that they can maybe get some magnets put in their helmets to repel the other guys' helmets. Also, moon shoes for the offense so they can get the ball. It seems like the ball just would not bounce our way when there was loose balls or fumbles. Yeah, let's talk real quick before we get to the next super chat about how pivotal the targeting calls was, because if the call to smoke, which by the way, Ike vehemently disagrees with that call. He's not here to talk about it. I actually don't have a big problem with that targeting call. When you go look at the definition of targeting, it's excessive contact based on a tackle or block. And it was excessive because we got to remember who we're talking about here. We're talking about Smoke Monday, who fundamentally does not tackle or block or do anything well. He just knows one thing: I'm going to lay you out. That's typically how he plays, and it will get you in trouble a lot more times than it won't. And that call swung our field position from being able to go up potentially enough to win the game and put it away to us now being at our own 25 and having to punt the ball, still being only up 3. Then you have Simpson going out, and then on that drive, they score the go-ahead touchdown. So how crucial were those, in your opinion, B, those 2 targeting calls?
I mean, of course they were crucial. I think the most disappointing thing about Smoke was this is who he's been for 4 years, and he's never been able to modify his behavior on field. Tackling with his head, knowing that the moment I don't need to hit a home run here. I just need to keep this guy out of the way so my guy can get some yardage because we just picked the ball off. You don't need to lay a guy out for your guy to get yardage on the interception. That's the entire point of why you are now a blocker. You are a blocker not to take people's heads off, but to get the guy who just intercepted the ball a clear path to get down the field. Right. It wasn't necessary. And for somebody who he declared for the NFL, how does this show? Like all the story of Smoke Monday now, he's had some pick sixes for us. I think he had 4 in his career. I'm not sure it was 3 or 4. I don't know if it was more. We have to look that up exactly. But I think his legacy will be he couldn't play discipline on the defensive end. There are plenty of safeties all across the country who are going to go high in the draft and who don't have to tackle the way he tackles, and they're fine. Safeties in the NFL making money. You don't have to tackle like that. I get that it's borderline. The calls are fluid, and it seems like they're fluid because sometimes you lead, and what the ball carrier does determines where you hit, and that's always where I have problem with the calls. That's why I thought the call on Simpson was bogus. Did he make contact with the guy's head or neck? But you can clearly see when Simpson is watching him and sizing him up, he turns his head to go down. That's when the quarterback slides. Now, if I saw him up and I made a decision to go down, him going down at the same time is down for the tackle, that gets me a penalty. The quarterback should either slide every time they see me coming, because if you don't slide and get under his legs, which is what Simpson was trying to do, you risk a guy just juking you out your shoes. I can't trust that he's going to go down. There's no honor system in this. It's still football. You have to get on the ground. You have to give yourself up.
It's tough to do that with a mobile QB. It's tough to tackle a statue who's running. You kind of almost can anticipate what he's going to do. But if he's mobile, yes, it's much tougher.
Yeah, and that's tough. But in Smoke's case, the first one was borderline. Looked like he came across the guy's face, but I don't think he actually hit him in the head. So on review,
I agree with that call. I agree with the no call the first time, but the second time, I didn't think he was. I didn't think he was getting away with that one. Right. I did not think he was getting away with it.
Second time, yeah, him getting 2 of these in his last game. I hate to say that's the most Smoke thing ever, but it really is. It's kind of the most. That will be his legacy for whatever his potential can be in the future. Maybe somebody takes a chance on him based on the good things he does, but he was never able to think through how he plays the position when it came to making a big hit, and missed on tackles to make a big hit. It's hurt him 2 ways.
Right.
Got him off the field, which hurts the team, and it's also not could have. It's just not. It's not a good deal.
Yeah. All right, let's get on to Pocket Watch. Time for round ball. Hope you guys get at DM8 calling in for post-game round ball world reports. He could even host some. You know what that is?
I do not. We have to check and see.
Yeah, we gotta I'll let you Pocket Watch to see who that is. Next one, Cody Dawe. Appreciate you. Think you meant to chat us something. I'll look to see if I can find what you may have tried to send us. Exclusive TV. TJ is terrible. He lost his position after this performance. He overthrew too many guys that were wide open. Harsin put us in numerous positions to score. We kind of talked about that, how he overthrew guys. It was very disappointing to see and would have definitely put the game out of reach for sure. Wardam ATL, I think I counted 4 overthrown TDs to wide open receivers. TJ is done.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this was his audition, and I think now that he's, I don't want to say at the bottom of the depth chart, because if you were to believe that everybody is everything is wide open for guys to earn their way into a starting spot, then sure, I guess he could work his way back up the depth chart, but I don't think he's in the starting spot. And honestly, I mean, we all know where I stand and where most of us have been. We thought DD was the most talented guy on this roster at QB in August, and that's including TJ and Bo Nix. So we want to see him. We want to see him on the field. It hurts that we didn't get to see him on the field because, listen, this game wasn't going according to plan. After TJ overthrows a few guys, I mean, I'm harsh. I'm thinking, what is there to salvage by leaving TJ in the game? Is there you practice hard for 3 weeks and then I've never bought into that. You might have practiced great, but you ain't getting it done today, man. Time to sit down.
Da Vinci, FA, appreciate you, man. TJ is horrible. I won't be told otherwise. Can we say this, B? TJ has not made a case for being Auburn's starting quarterback moving forward based on his play up to this point. I think that is a fair, accurate assessment.
Correct.
But I think if TJ is horrible, do we see someone else in this game?
Okay, so here's a question. If he's horrible, he may not have been horrible in the Iron Bowl, but he was unable to produce. I would say a lot because of injury. They didn't make a change then. When Bo was flailing in Texas A&M, they didn't make a change. When Bo broke his ankle against Mississippi State, they didn't make a change. When TJ hurt his ankle against Alabama, they didn't make a change. And now when TJ was flailing today, making misreads, overthrows, poor throws. They didn't pull him today. So bravo to the coaches for being consistent and not pulling a guy. Um, I don't know what I don't know.
I don't think I'm not going to say inconsistent is pretty, I think is the more accurate for him. He's just inconsistent, but so was our previous quarterback. He
Right.
was inconsistent.
Right.
Like you almost got to put him in the same category as Bo in that regard. So I'm not going to make excuses for TJ, just like I didn't make excuses for Bo, but he's just been inconsistent. And I think the hope that he would come in and be better or play better, I think that hope has kind of dissipated with a lot of people, understandably so. But I'm not going to say that this kid is horrible, because I think this game would have gone a lot worse for us if he was horrible. He didn't throw any picks. He would, there would have been some turnover. Like, he wasn't horrible, but yes, it's tough to see a guy not make plays that were clearly there. I think that's fair to say. I'm sure people will disagree with that, but Kelsey Gardner says, you all said TJ will never have the time that Bo had. That's just not his reality. With that being said, I've seen all I need to see from him. I'm sorry. Listen, I don't know moving forward how many more opportunities he's going to get with this coaching staff, because as we've alluded to, Harsin is definitely coaching. Harsin can't do this next year. Harsin knows he cannot win 6 games. He cannot win 7 games. He may be able to win 8 games. And he's going to need QB play that's going to guarantee that he can win those amount of games. And again, I'm not sure if I don't think TJ has proven that he's a guy that the coach can trust. I mean, I saw Harsin's body language with those missed throws. That's not acceptable.
No,
that's just not acceptable. It's not acceptable. Again, I'm not calling this kid horrible. I'm not going to do that. But the body language on the head coach was there. That's not what he needs from his QB. And Finley would have to know that that's not the performance that he was looking for going into this game. JT Martin says, thank God someone finally said it. TJ ain't it. You can't run, and all you bring to the team is your arm, and you don't bring it. Shake my head. You got to go. Yeah. He's just inaccurate. He's just inaccurate. Charlie Davidson Jr., appreciate you. We have to hit the portal hard for offensive players. What are your feelings about let's talk about the portal real quick. What are your thoughts about the portal and what Auburn has to do going into the offseason?
So the thing about the portal and another guy is that, one, you have to look at why guys are in the portal. There could be some really good players in the portal because their situation at their schools changed. Head coaching change, coordinator change. If enough changes, guys want to leave. Now, there are good guys in the portal. There are guys who are just okay. We're seeing a lot of players in the portal who they may have been good players, but they weren't getting playing time. So they get out and they go somewhere, like we all thought Elijah Canyon should have seen the field more. He didn't. He's going to go to Purdue. And it doesn't mean that he's a bad player because he left here. I put up numbers. So it really comes down to, are the guys good or not? Why weren't they playing where they were at? As far as QBs go, I don't know if there are any home run QBs currently in the portal. The thing I will say about us needing a guy in the portal is I don't think it necessarily. I think when it comes to quarterback, down a guy's tools. Is he fast? Can he run? Does he have a big arm? Is he accurate? But really, there are 2 things that matter the most when it comes to quarterback play. Can you read and diagnose quickly enough? And can you make an accurate throw? If you are in quicksand, if I put concrete blocks on your feet, if you can read and diagnose and throw an accurate pass, you can be good at quarterback. I saw Peyton Manning. Well, really, it was the husk of Peyton Manning win a Super Bowl his last year. The defense did all the work for him. But you know what he could do? I know where you guys are going to be, because mentally, I'm still sharp as I ever was. And I'm going to make this throw. It's a lazy, lame duck pass. Peyton was struggling out there that last year. But those are the most important parts of playing the position. In college, a lot of other things kind of get in the way of that. I don't want to say in the way of that. It doesn't have to be the thing you're best at. There are some running QBs who can just be great running QBs and just kind of have that, the lights on, and this is my moment type thing. But what Harsin needs and what he wants for his system, he wants the quarterback to be able to read and react quickly and make accurate passes. We did not have anybody between the two stars we had this year who could actually do that consistently. Neither one, based on what we've seen from TJ and what we saw from Bo. They got Bo into a rhythm and he played well. He played much better than he had played previously. He still had a problem with reading and diagnosing at times, and he overreacted to pressure at times. TJ didn't overreact to pressure, but he rushed. And he didn't turn the ball over and fumble, but inaccurate throws down to the feet of receivers because the pressure's coming.
I think that surprised me, B. Like for him to be a pocket QB, I expect you to have a little bit more composure in the pocket when the pressure is on, because it's not like you're going to juke people out your shoes. It seems like he was even more inaccurate when he stepped in or climbed the pocket trying to get the ball to guys. That surprised me.
And that's what's so surprising, because you've had time. And again, I go back to this time, not just when you're the number one QB in practice. It's not just we're running this playbook for you, so you have the advantage of we're going to run this play over and over and over again. Get the timing right. You're getting the timing right with guys. It's the QB coach, or I guess in this case it was Harsin, going, your foot. You didn't drive off your front foot. Stop driving off that back foot. Drive off your front foot. Lean into it. Point your foot at the guy and make the throw. You're getting coaching that you don't necessarily get in the season if you're QB2. You're QB1. You're getting fundamentally coached about your mechanics and about your reads, and you are getting mentally prepared for the game in a way that you don't have time to get prepared during the season. For him to be inaccurate, throwing to wide open guys so many times over the course of this game, I don't think it's safe to say he doesn't have the thing that we were looking for. Bo was a better QB, granted with a lot more experience and a lot more time. So maybe Bo has looked as bad as TJ looked today in other games. So it's still, 6-7 starts compared to 30 starts, but Bo made a jump. And TJ, whether or not he gets the chance to make the jump, I think we all said that he won't get that opportunity. You're not going to get 30 games here to play like you did today in hopes that you get somehow marginally better. We have got to get a guy in who can diagnose and be accurate. If that guy is on the roster, I have to assume that the coaches know what they're doing, that it's Demetrius Davis or that it's Garner. One of those two guys has to be it, because what's in the portal is another crapshoot. Now, we've seen the portal. Slovis may have had something special. He was injury prone, but he seemed to have more of that than the guys currently on our roster who have played for us have. But he went somewhere else. And honestly, can you blame him? You saw our line. People want to go where there's going to be a good situation for him. Tank almost left. I hope he doesn't change his mind, because, geez, we need him. We need all the guys we got, and we got to get some more guys. We are in a hole because our offensive line didn't develop, and I think that hampered the development of quarterback as well. And it hampered our run game.
It definitely hurt the run game.
When you have a run game that's consistent, you can hide your quarterback. The best job Jimbo Fisher ever did, I know I'm giving him credit. Last year, 2020, Kellen Mond. I've always called him a good OC. 2020, Kellen Mond was a mediocre quarterback his entire career, and he came out with a run game that absolutely protected him, and he only had to make a few critical throws a game, if at all. And it worked. It worked to the tune of 9-1, I think they went, or whatever it was. There is the problem. When you don't have the offensive line that can support that type of run game, your quarterback is eventually going to be exposed. He is going to have to make these throws in critical situations way before, not because you're ready for him to make it, but because the defense has now stopped what you're good at because your offensive line isn't good enough to impose their will. Now, quarterback, beat us. Let's see what you can do. If you don't have a quarterback that can read, react, and be accurate, you're toast. And we've seen it now for 3 straight games with TJ. We saw it for half the games that both played for us this year. We either have to get massively better at the offensive line, or you need a quarterback who can do those things in spite of poor protection and an inconsistent run game.
Jabbar, appreciate you, man, for the super chat. I'm not sure. I think this is what you was trying to say. Not a solid team. We need a lot of work in the offseason. I would have to agree with you. Guys, if you've noticed, this is a live that's insider or member only. And if you want to know how you can become an insider with us, this is how you do it. $5.99 will get you there, guys. And not only that, beyond a supporter, you get access to all of our exclusive content. And believe you me, we're going to be dropping some exclusive stuff in the off season with film reviews. We're definitely going to do a film review of this bowl game. And we're definitely going to chop up the film and kind of take a closer look at what we saw to analyze where Auburn went wrong today, some of the things we did right. But of course, we're going to break that down. You want to be able to get an idea of kind of where we stand offensively. And so $5.99 a month insider. We're going to also be doing some cool stuff with basketball. It's basketball season. We got a big game tomorrow against LSU. So we'll definitely be chopping that up as well. So we'll be doing film reviews. Ike is actually more of a basketball head than he is a football guy.
Yes,
so with the exceptional job he's been doing at football, he's going to definitely be talking some round ball. So those of you who are interested in that, $5.99 will get you there. Also, on a day like this helps keep the trolls out so we can all bemoan this loss together with no one getting under our skin who's an outsider. So $5.99 provides that. We create this environment for our community to vent their frustrations in a constructive manner. So let's get back to some of these super chats. Exclusive TV. He make those throws, we win easily. I would have rather seen Dede or Lloyd play after what I witnessed. Mike G shouldn't have an excuse for TJ at all. Be curious to hear Mike G's thoughts on this. But let me ask you, why do you think? Let me ask you this in terms of not seeing Dede, because I told you if it's going to be a tight game, we don't see him unless there's a package put in there for us to be able to see him and utilize his athletic talents, right?
Right.
There's a video that we discussed in the off season leading up to this season where Harsin is at Boise and talked about why some guys don't see the field. And he talked about guys understanding what they're supposed to be doing. And if you don't understand where you're supposed to be or what you're doing, I'm not putting you on field. Is it possible that because Demetrius Davis, just being a true freshman, is it possible he didn't know the offense enough for Harsin to trust to put him in that situation? You think, B? Or is it something else?
I guess we don't really know why certain guys didn't see the field. When it comes to quarterback, there's a lot to consider. There's a lot more to consider than wide receiver. You know the routes, you don't. And so with a player like Canyon, we were led to believe, we're not led to believe, we heard throughout the season that Canyon wasn't living up to the coach's expectations somehow in practice. But there wasn't a lot to be expected of there's not so much mentally that you have to process receiver compared to quarterback. There's a lot more to understand. When Canyon did get in the game for us with those limited snaps, he did what he was supposed to do. He made his blocks. He ran his routes. He didn't get targets, which I know was probably frustrating for him. But this coaching staff seems to have a very hard line stance on my way or the highway. And what my way is, I define what behavior, what habits, what level of discipline gets you on the field, and what level is going to keep you on the sideline. At this point in the year, I would expect that everybody who is still on the roster, who chose not to transfer out at this point, understands what that line is. So maybe the first year during the season, it was a bit up in the air. Here was the spring. We're just getting rolling. Here's the fall. In season, now things are in flux. Different people are playing and seeing the field. We saw Landon King work his way onto the field. Makes you ask, what was he doing that Canyon wasn't? Or what was he willing to do in practice that Canyon wasn't? When it comes to quarterback, it gets a lot more simple, I would think, in my head, because we are losing and the guy playing the position looks bad. That is a very simple proposition. If you have anybody who can play better than the guy is currently playing, you go to him. And I am singular determination for each individual game. Whatever stock you have built up during the week of practice in previous games. Now, this is a B will position. I don't care. You are playing poorly. You look like you're scared of the rush. You're feeling the rush before it gets there. You're making a bad read, or you're missing a read, and you're making bad throws. That play should be enough to get any quarterback sat down, because, as I have harped on continuously, once a quarterback is playing badly, very, very, very few quarterbacks, and not that the team is losing badly, once the quarterback is playing badly, how often does sticking with a quarterback that's playing badly actually turn itself around with the same quarterback? Somebody, we were having this conversation on social media, and somebody mentioned the Cam back. Cam wasn't playing poorly. Alabama's defense was playing great. They had our number. They knew when to run blitz. They knew how to pressure us, and it worked. Cam wasn't playing badly. He wasn't missing wide open guys. They were attacking him. Now, that guy is special. So if you've got a special guy, sure, you leave him out there no matter what, because he's remarkable. I don't think we haven't had an elite talent at quarterback since Nick Marshall. We have not had an elite talent at quarterback since Nick Marshall. Nobody
from an athletic standpoint. So you can argue Stidham was
he had
in year one.
He had elite arm talent, but 2018 kind of undid some of that magic for me, because he had some of the same issues. The O-line took a step back. He felt the rush before it was there. I remember him overthrowing I don't know how much draft money Stidham being scary cost Darius Slayton, because Slayton ended up going, I think, third round, and he should have went second round. He's been a great player for the Giants so far. But once a quarterback starts playing like that, if in there, 9.9 times out of 10, you lose anyway. So why not go to the next guy? Why not change it up to give the guy a spark? So far this season, we switched it up in Georgia State. We ended up winning the game. And clearly it's not because TJ is head and tails above Bo Nix as far as a player. I don't think that's necessarily that's not the case. We've seen him on his own for 2 healthy starts, and he doesn't look like he's a great player. So changing it up has its own value in game. Why would you not try it? You changed it up Georgia State, it worked. You didn't change it up for Texas A&M, we failed. You didn't change it up for the Iron Bowl, we failed. Didn't change it up against Mississippi State. Guy was hurt, we failed. Every time we don't change quarterback, when the quarterback is incapacitated or playing poorly, we lose. And the only exception I would say is if you know this guy is elite, if you know for sure he's that special talent, then yeah, you keep him in there because he's that guy and he's shown you something to that point. Cam Newton proved who he was way before we got to that Iron Bowl.
Sure.
For this team, for these quarterbacks, we had no reason to hold that spot for anybody. They had not earned that benefit of the doubt. I would have changed the guy. I don't know what kept DD off the field today.
I'll be curious to hear if anyone asks Harsin about that in the post game. If one of our guys asks about that in the post game, I'll be curious to see if that question does get asked and what Harsin has to say about that. Antonio Smith says, just blow up the whole offense. I think the offense will look different to a degree from a personnel standpoint, for sure, along the offensive line. I'd be curious to see what happens during spring with the QB race in that position. So definitely something to keep an eye on. Stephen Nash, stubborn Harsin will be our demise. As a former athlete, I am embarrassed. My Auburn coach would have never continued with an underperformer.
You know what? Ooh, that's
it's been done by this guy and his predecessor as well. I'm just curious to see what happens moving forward. Devin says, I'm really pissed off we didn't get to see Demetrius Davis.
Sure, man.
I'm just curious about, and Mike G hit the nail on the head. He said we're not seeing Demetrius Davis. I held out some hope that we would see Demetrius if there were certain packages or if we were in the red zone we wanted to bring him out there to pick up a few yards on the ground or do something creative. I would have rather saw that than the reverse that he is hell bent on running to Demetrius Robertson. Like we want to give him the end around, and I don't know if that play maybe has worked once all season, but I would rather see a package for Demetrius Davis than that. But
yeah,
yeah, I didn't have a lot of high hopes, and we may see him maybe 2 times tops in this game, but we didn't get to see him at all. It was a close game, so we definitely wasn't going to see him. So that's unfortunate. H Lecter 316 says I'm not having fun anymore. Well, it's tough to have fun under these circumstances, but I'm hopeful that things will get better for Auburn moving forward. SS Austin says, can we all say that TJ is not it now, and there is no way D could have been worse?
Yeah,
it's no way to know than to play him, right?
Right.
That's how you find out if you put him in there.
And
I don't know if D Davis could have been worse. You got to play him to find out.
Yeah. To Harson's credit, this is what I think happens once you do stick with a guy through a game. It means here's your shot. So there won't be any excuses. There won't be any mystery as to whether or not you could have recovered in this game. I saw a lot of that once Georgia State happened and TJ came in for Bowl, and the next time around folks were like, hey, well, you didn't make a change again. And he said, well, we wanted to see if Bowl could work his way out of this position because he didn't get that the first time around. All right, well, you see. No, TJ did. If TJ is going to be on this roster next year, we got a chance to see it's a real game situation, and it wasn't a game where we were outclassed or outmatched at all. This is a winnable game. We had wide receivers running wide open, man. Here it is. Make the throw. You make that throw. We win. One of those over the course of the game, it was about 4 wide open touchdowns that could have been thrown if they were accurate.
Yeah.
And you make it, we're good. You don't make it, we're done. And we were done. So I don't think that there's any way that there's a question now. And that's the silver lining. There's no question as to whether or not you are the guy going forward. It's kind of like get to the back of the line. Not necessarily the back of the line, but there was some stock to be earned with a really good game today. It didn't have to be. It didn't even have to be a 45-17 win. It could have been a 27-13 win where we just kept him off of the field. Even after a slow start, if he comes out in the second half and he's consistent throwing the ball, then we chalk it up to a slow first half, just getting going after a lot of time off. And then he's looking good going into the spring. But now, nah, man. No.
This is what he transferred to Auburn for. This was your opportunity. You got your shot.
Yeah.
You got guys running wide open down the field. Prove why you came to Auburn in the first place. Show why you left LSU. This is my moment. I can be the guy. I am the guy. And you don't get it done. All you do from here on out is make it difficult for you to prove to the coaches that you are the guy, because now we got film on you.
Right.
We've seen what you're able to do. Now, Harsin values practice and what guys do in practice. So can he bounce back? Absolutely. But that doesn't stop Harsin from going to the portal and bringing someone in who's going to make the competition even tougher, assuming Harsin finds somebody in the portal.
Right. Right.
You now have made this a lot tougher for you than you could have ever wanted it to be, because when it came time for you to show up, you didn't show up in those moments.
And the moment was there. That's the thing.
It was there.
You know what I really thought, honestly? I thought we were gonna run the ball like we did in the second half, but all game. I thought we would just run them into the ground and dominate and do what we wanted, and we'd be up something like 21-10 at half, and second half it's like 31-13 or 17, and then they make a late heave and try to make a run in the fourth quarter, and they score another touchdown. But 31-24, that's it. I thought it was going to be an easy, comfortable game. TJ doesn't have to do much. The play calling and the run game will kind of do a lot of the work for him. But no, it wasn't like that, man. It did not look like that. It wasn't like that. And buddy,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Jabbar Khalid says we had opportunities. I can't understand why our offense can't finish. We were a better team than the season showed. I mean, this pretty much embodies our season, right? We are a team that had a lot of opportunities to be more than what we ended up being.
Yep.
We just couldn't get the job done offensively. And it
Mhm.
didn't matter. It didn't matter who the QB was at times. Like we just couldn't get it done.
Yeah.
Whether it was questionable game planning, questionable play calling, bad execution, we were there. We had a chance to do something and we couldn't get it done. And that's
Right.
something that with Austin Davis coming in, working with Harsin, that's something that has to be corrected, because what I don't want us to do is be in a situation where we have to rely on our defense to keep us in games. I felt like this had to be a defensive struggle to give Auburn the best chance. I didn't want it to be a shootout. I didn't want Houston running wild offensively, because it's almost a guarantee we're going to lose. We were going to win this game if our defense played well. Well, what if our defense doesn't have a great game? Because sometimes that happens.
Right. Missing a lot of guys.
Sometimes that happens. Your defense is just not going to have a good game. What is our offense? Our offense has to improve to the point to where we can depend on them to carry us. And right now we're solely, this 2021 team is a team that has to depend on its defense in order for us to even have a chance in games, is what it appears to be. Outside of perhaps maybe the Arkansas game where we had a really good showing there, we have largely depended on our defense to keep us in these games.
Yep.
Eric Pearson, welcome to the War Report family. Appreciate you, man, for joining and being part of our community. Got one win here, Renaissance Man 2008. Seems we don't have an identity on offense. When we need a big play, it seems like we don't have a consistent answer. Bama is going to throw to Michi. Georgia will run the ball. Got to find our answer. It seems to me, to this point, Harsin talked a lot about being a downhill running attack team. But it seems like we're just more of a balanced team.
And we have to be. We have to be, because if a team knows what we're doing, we're not good enough on offensive line to absolutely impose our will. You can have an identity when you're good enough to have an identity. We're not good enough to have an identity. Our offensive line isn't good enough to say we're going to run the ball at you no matter what you want to do. 2013, sure. We had an tackle, an NFL fullback, an NFL running back, and one of the most dynamic quarterbacks we've ever had at the position here. Yes, it's easy to impose your will when you've got that type of talent at some key positions for you to run the ball. We don't have that. We don't have that. So imposing your will sounds great. All right. If I wanted to walk into my boss's office and impose, I want $100 an hour. Yeah, but you don't have $100 an hour skills for what we do, Brian. You gonna become a mechanical engineer tomorrow? Nope. I didn't learn mechanical engineering. I can do some electrical stuff right now. That's what I can do. So never mind. I'm gonna stick with what I'm getting paid right here because it's paying the bills. If I don't have the tools to impose my will, then I can't impose my will. If I'm not that valuable where I'm at in my company, then I can't command that type of pay. And similar here, I can say, well, we're just going to chuck the ball all over the yard. Sure. Is the quarterback going to be accurate? Are the wide receivers going to catch consistently? Is the offensive line going to offer some protection? And is the play calling going to support getting the ball out of the hands of the quarterback quickly? All of that sounds great until you don't have the tools to do it. Bama can throw to meet you because they had a quarterback who was consistent in spite of the offensive line play he suffered behind. He was hit and pressured a lot, more than our quarterbacks were this year. And he still played well in spite of that. UGA is going to run the ball. They've got great running backs, and they've got great offensive linemen as well. We, on the other hand, do not have either of them. We got a great running back. We do not have a great offensive line. We had wide receivers who, I mean, God bless them. We're hammering TJ for missing those guys. Kobe dropped. I don't want to give him any slack for dropping that one. That was a really, really low pass kind of behind him that he dropped. But the last attempt that he dropped on that drive, that was a catchable ball. on the slant, off his hands. That's it. And that has played Kobe all year.
Yeah.
It's a talent deficiency that we've seen, and we've seen our players get better. But what it seems to come down to is we need some better players at some key positions, and that's our answer. But to get back on this, we did need a big play. We missed like 3 or 4 big plays. I don't think the big plays weren't there. We just didn't hit them, and that comes down to talent and execution. We didn't have it.
Yeah, again, I don't think. Again, I would have liked to have seen us give the ball to Tank, but the calls that were made, particularly on the drive where we went 3 and out after the second pick, we could have scored on 2 of those 3 plays if we had executed properly and hit the receiver in stride. Right, a lot of ifs, right, but the plays were there.
Yeah.
I just think that when you don't execute, your offense looks much worse than what it was. And I think that's something that we learned when we went back and watched the film of Penn State. We were like, this offense looks awful. But what we were starting to see that there wasn't exactly, with exception of the play that was called by Bobo on the goal line.
Revert. Oh yeah, the fade. Yeah.
Outside of that, it was just execution. We saw that when you don't execute a call, the call just looks horrible all the way around, right? And so when you talk about identity, I think to your point, execution plays a part of that identity. Because even if you're running, even if we want to be a downhill and we run every play, if we're not executing, we're just 3 yards in a cloud of dust who's going 3 and out just about every drive, because the opposing team knows what we're doing, and we can't do what we want to do even if they know what we're going to do. So I just think execution comes down to it in terms of being accurate in the passing game, catching the ball when it gets in your area, and getting upfield, throwing an accurate ball so our guys can do something when they get the ball. I think execution is one of the things that's just been largely inconsistent with this team this season.
Right.
And it's to be expected when you're learning the offense and learning where you're supposed to be, but you're ball players.
Right.
At some point, man, the ball's in your area, you got to make a play.
Yeah.
When you're a QB and you dropping back, you've been playing QB your whole life. You got to know how to hit a guy downfield. Like, execution it has to be a part of this team's identity moving forward, regardless of what players call, regardless of what the coaching staff, if they're having an off game. And we've seen that at some points this season where the players actually played a great game despite decisions made strategically by the offensive coaches.
Right.
We got to see that consistently here.
Yeah, for sure.
JT Martin says the thing that hurt the most for me is to see another team yet again with a stud wide receiver, and I just sit and wonder, why can't Auburn ever get one?
Oh, I know why.
Nathaniel Dell had 10 receptions for 150 yards. I mean, he was a guy I mentioned prior to this game. This is a guy that this is their number one target, the number one receiver. He could potentially have a great game, and he did. Again, we got to get the ball to our guys. Would have had some great numbers with our receivers if we'd hit some guys in stride. And I think the thing with TJ is the thing about inconsistency, is what I'll say is what's so difficult as a coach to determine is it's not like Finley went 0 for the fourth quarter or 0 for the second half. Right. The strike he threw to Schenker to get us down there to score that last TD was a beautiful throw.
Yeah.
So he'll come back and hit a throw like that, and you're thinking, okay, all right, he's warming up, and then he'll hit Kobe Hudson in the back in the corner coming into the end zone. You're like, all right, he's warming up, but then he gets the ball back and can't throw the ball downfield. So it's like we get a glimmer of hope here, a good drive here, but then he comes back and it's like he's been cold. He throws as if he's been cold all along.
Right.
So it's tough to get a gauge, and just to throw a little bit of heart. It's tough to get a read on, okay, is my coach really tanking or did he just have a bad series?
Right. And that's really what it is. But that's also kind of the back and forth that we had about Bo when he was here.
Which is,
hey man, he's looked terrible, and then he has a game like, oh wow, Okay, he might be that guy. I remember 2019. He had a really, really good game against Texas A&M on the road. And I was
Mhm.
like, wow, he might be that guy. And then we go to Florida. I'm like, oh that's not it. But
Yeah.
then you're remembering Oregon and you're remembering that Texas A&M game and then that Mississippi State game he had that year. Like, okay, but no, he can do this. But the next game, that's not what he's doing. And
Right.
instead of waiting for anybody, and this has been the source of my stance on Bo, I'm like this about anybody. TJ, you had your shot. I'm not gonna wait up one series, down for two. No, man, that's inconsistency. Your floor has to be higher so that those two down series, we don't
Yeah.
see that because those cost us.
Right.
Those down
Right.
series are the reasons we didn't. So we need a guy who is their floor is I'm gonna make the right read and I'm gonna make it very safe. So maybe I don't have this home run arm where I can get it over the top 50 yards in the air. But you know what I'm not gonna do? I'm not going to just completely miss a read. If a guy was open, I'm gonna hit him. Houston's
Yeah.
QB, he didn't have that good an arm. He was just willing to run. He knew where his receivers were going to be. To know where to be. And well, I think the announcers made it out on one play. He was like, actually, he was supposed to keep going up the sideline with that, but he broke it off, sat down in the zone, and his QB found him. That's the
Yeah.
type of decision making a really good QB can do, even if he doesn't have a super high ceiling. If your floor is higher, your offense has a higher ceiling by default. And we've got to get
Facts.
that guy in the game. Now, again, do we know? We don't know if that guy is on the roster or not. But we haven't seen. We've got two guys for sure that we have not seen play: D. Davis and Holden Garner. Once he gets in here, Holden Garner has a lot of traits that we think Harsin likes, and that he's shown some traits in high school that Harsin likes. So if that's
Mhm.
his guy and he can do exactly what needs to be done at the quarterback position, which means read, diagnose, react quickly,
Correct.
and be accurate. Everybody, everybody is going to look better if the QB can do those things. And I hope we don't burn half the season riding with the wrong guy to figure out, oh, he doesn't have it.
I
That's
don't
really my biggest fear.
I don't think I will be surprised if we do that, B, because I just don't think Harson can afford to do that. I think the experimentation of your QBs is over with. You got to
Yeah,
find the guy. And I
yeah,
think that's what has to start going into this offseason, spring and fall. I got to know who my guy is. You got to show me what you can do in practice. If you're not showing me that, I can't really trust you moving forward in the game. And maybe that's what's been going on so far. But the experimentation of taking 2, 3, 4 games to find out is you the guy. I don't think Harson can afford that because he cannot afford to reproduce this season next season.
that's straight up.
Bryson Bridges says, my dad got out of the hospital just in time for this game. He just said he thinks he'd rather be.
Take me back in there.
First and foremost, man, I'm
Oh
glad your dad
man.
is out of the hospital, Bryson. I'm glad all is well with him. I hate that this was what was waiting on him when he got out, but I'm glad he's out of the hospital and doing well. Send him our best regards, please, sir.
Yeah,
Lamori says, plain and simple, Demetrius Davis should have gotten some burn, especially in the red zone. That's where I thought I was going to
yeah,
see him. But
yeah.
knowing what we know about this coach, I just wasn't. I would have been. I wouldn't have. I was not surprised we didn't see him. I just put it to you that way. I
Yeah.
gave you the scenarios by which we would have seen him and still didn't see him. Let's see. We got a few more super chats here. Khalil says, in my opinion, NIL is causing these players to feel like they've made it already, making some players to overthink trying to be stars. I don't know, man.
Hmm, I don't know,
What's your
but
thoughts
see,
on this, B?
so the thing about that is, even if they felt like I'm that guy, they know that if they play poorly enough, they're not that guy anymore, and then all the accolades stop. Spencer Rattler got some major deal in the area in Oklahoma, and then he got benched. Now, I don't know what the terms of those deals were. Maybe that's something that companies start figuring out. We can't be paying guys all this money off expectation, and then they don't even play well. I mean, DJ Uiagalelei, I hope I did that right. He was hyped up really well. He had the Bojangles endorsement. He had a commercial that wasn't even a local commercial. It was like a national commercial early in the
Mm.
season. I didn't see him anymore. I didn't see that Bojangles commercial. I didn't see that national commercial. I think it was a Dr. Pepper commercial that Clemson's QB had.
Hmm.
It's over with. So it's risky for the companies. It's players, I think, now have more pressure to perform because you can get paid, get a deal, and be that guy. What happens if you get hurt? You're not the starter anymore, man. Sorry. I would endorsement deals start looking structured like performance enhancements for NFL quarterbacks. Yeah, if you play this many snaps, you get this many, touchdowns for offensive play. If you're a corner, whatever, whatever it is, then it ups how much you get paid. But if you get there and you don't even play, I mean, we can't keep paying people off expectations. So I don't think that it's good. I think it's good for the players, honestly, in multiple ways. They're not going to get paid by the schools, maybe not anytime soon. Let them get some money from what they're doing on the field because the schools are sure enough. Well, every time we see those advertisements for this team versus this team in the primetime game, yeah, you're going to see a clip of the coach yelling. And you know what else I'm going to see? I'm going to see that quarterback running it into the end zone. I'm going to see that wide receiver catching it over his shoulder. They're not showing the administrators. They're not showing the coaches on the field doing the work. People are tuning in and paying money to see these players play. I'm glad they're getting something off of that. But I think now there's some pressure because you got to perform or you're going to lose out on that money that was available to you through NIL. But that's just how I feel about it.
I think businesses are going to get smarter too in terms of when to approach these athletes with deals once they've proven that they are the real deal, as opposed to feeding into the hype. I think you still see that to a degree, especially when you're trying to lure recruits to your school. But I just think that one of the things we talked about in the offseason is instead of handing these guys NIL deals on the front end, we'll see it more on the back end once you produced and shown that, hey, I am worthy of the hype that I came in with. And I think with that, hopefully those players are a little bit more level-headed and understand what it takes to be successful with NIL as opposed to on the front end. So Joe Kyle says, we have not played a QB that we can count on since Nick Marshall. Again, but you said facts.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We've been struggling since Nick Marshall for sure.
Yes.
2017 being the lone exception, but 2018, yes, to your point, B, Stidham wasn't the same, but a lot around him had changed. So
yeah.
Garrett says, why didn't DD get at least a chance? What was Auburn even playing for? 7 wins. They needed to see what they had to work with. Again, we talked about this on the early on in the show. Don't know, man. Don't know why we didn't get the chance to see DD, but I'm pretty sure if you're Demetrius Davis, B, what are you thinking at this point?
Honestly, if I'm DD, I'm licking my chops. Maybe I didn't get a chance to come in here and be the hero against my hometown team. Not really hometown. He's from the state, not the city. Texas is as big across as Mississippi to DC. So let's not create like because he played in the state, he's from Houston. But he has to go, well, there's 2 guys ahead of me that have either left or played themselves out of position. It's my time. It's my time. I got to sit 1 year. I had to sit a year. I sat that year. Nobody ahead of me has shown that they deserve that spot more than me based on how they played. It's my time. And I would go, now, here's the thing. If we went into the spring and I'm not getting starter reps, like A-Day, who are you starting for A-Day? If I'm not running with the ones, I'm out of here. I don't want that to happen. And I definitely want him to actually be as good as we think he is. Let's clear this up because this is something that people will undoubtedly misconstrue because they're determined to misunderstand what we're saying. I think, based on what I have seen, that Demetrius Davis is the most complete talent at quarterback that we have on our roster. I thought that in August. I thought that going into this bowl game. And I damn sure think that now after the bowl game. It does not mean he is the most experienced. It does not mean that he is ready and that the maximum potential that he has can be realized immediately out of the gate.
We don't know what's up here.
We don't know.
We don't know what's up here. He's got the tools physically. He's got the athleticism for sure to be the guy.
Yes.
Can he put it together?
Can he put it together when you put him out there to run the offense that Harsin wants to run? Can he see those reads? Or if the offensive line is given less time than we need, can he be, when we know he's quick, we know he's fast. And there's a difference between can run and can run quickly and be very fast doing it. Nick Marshall was quick, and he was also hard to tell. We keep going back to Nick Marshall, reminiscing about the good old days. Y'all know how it is. Bo Nix
Yeah,
knew
you
how to
gotta do
get
that
out
when
of
you're
the
not
pocket.
having a good day.
That's right. That's right. You got to think about when the times was good. Bo Nix could get out of the pocket and make a run, a good QB call run, but that's not what Nick Marshall could do. Nick Marshall could, nah, you read that wrong, so I'm taking it 60 yards right now. Like that type of dynamic athleticism is something that I think Demetrius Davis has. Whether or not everything can come together where you maintain that athleticism mentally, you are ready to use it, take off in the right direction, not bailing on the play as soon as the ball is snapped because, well, my first read and open, I'm just going to run. But working through progressions, using athleticism to escape pressure and make an accurate throw, using athleticism to escape pressure and get large chunks of yards, whether or not mentally he can bridge that gap between just dynamic athletic QB and a person who is playing the QB position well while maintaining that dynamic athleticism, we don't know yet. We do not know if he can do that, but we do know that he will never get a chance to do it if he doesn't get on the field. So I would expect Demetrius Davis, knowing that it's not his job to lose, but it's his opportunity. Absolutely. This is his opportunity. The next 3 months as they hit spring workouts, was it about 2 months before they hit spring workouts? This is late February usually.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, late February. And then you're going to go into that A-Day game. Show us what you can do. Show us who you are. And I don't think there will be any doubt at that point that Demetrius Davis is the talent that we think he is. If he holds up his end of the bargain, he buys in like these coaches want him to buy in. Because again, we don't know what kept people off the field. Not completely. We don't. So if there was a level of buy-in that the coaches wanted that he wasn't willing to do, we got to scrap all that. You've got to see the opportunity that's in front of you. Take advantage. Hey, man, they kind of nitpick me on the stuff we want to do in practice. Doesn't matter because this is my shot. This is my SEC starter shot. And none of the guys around me have proven that they deserve it more than me. I'm taking advantage, and I'm gonna be a starter this year. That's what I hope DD is saying to himself right now.
Yeah. Sabah, I guess. Am I saying that right? What you think, B?
Yeah, let's say Saba.
Sabah. Okay. Harsin needs to get some $1 million NIL deals together and go and buy an O-line and QB. This season won't attract the talent, so cut the check. I don't know. I think in year one, if you're able to show what you're trying to do, you can possibly lure recruits. I know oftentimes people look at wins and losses, and granted, some of your elite talent going to want to go somewhere where they can win and be able to go to the playoffs or play in bigger games. But you're in the SEC where you're going to be going up against the Bamas, the LSUs, the A&Ms. And in year one, I think Harsin has shown a lot of people here, here's what we're trying to build. We just need the horses and we need the athletes like you to come and do it. Mm-hmm. NIL can definitely play a part in that for sure. But I think the key is to always show, hey, here's what we're trying to do. If I'm a QB, I'm a receiver, hey, they are throwing the ball. It's not like that we're 3 yards in a cloud of dust out there. We are throwing the ball around. We just need the guys who can make the plays. Again, execute. I'm that guy. And that's one of the things that you can definitely pitch to recruits is we need guys like you who can come in and execute what we're showing you on film. If you can't show it on film, you're going to have a hard time getting those kids because they don't even have hopes of being able to get the opportunity to showcase their skills. Right. Here, you're already showing them, hey, the opportunity is there. We just need you to come buy into what we're building. Hopefully, and I think that's one of the reasons why we had some success this recruiting haul, given that the coaching staff came in when they did. So hopefully moving forward, as we continue to show improvement, the recruiting will continue to get better. Yeah, and NIL will play a part in that.
For sure.
Wardam ATL says grass is not always greener. JJ, Gatewood, Finley, etc. DD just might not be ready. And I guess that's kind of one of the questions I was alluding to based on what Harsin was talking about is Harsin's going to play people that he feels is ready. And again, I think just in pure fashion, this is a staff that has always prioritized experience over talent in the first place. And so if you guys have guys in front of Davis who's experienced, then I think that's where Harsin feels the most comfortable putting his trust in. And I don't know. See, the thing that we don't know is we don't know how far along Davis is in his development process.
Right. We don't know.
We don't know. And to this point, that may be a reason why we haven't seen him yet. He may not be far along, which is why, again, I hope we would have. You can learn a package or two, right?
Right.
You should be able to know that. So I would still expect to see him in these little plays where red zone, we need to pick up some yards, use Tank as a decoy. Davis takes the ball, does something special, potentially. Like, he should be able to run that. But
right.
Again, I think a point could be made here, but still there is opportunities to play your talented kids and athletes and give them an opportunity to kind of showcase what they do in a bowl game. Antonio Smith says maybe we just don't have the horses like we thought. Well, we definitely need to go.
We don't.
Yeah, we don't. Well, I mean, we knew that already, though, right? Especially with guys opting out of this game. Let's take a break here real quick, guys, to acknowledge one of the sponsors of the War Report, Ethan Dawe. We'll take a quick break, guys.
All right, business owners, high-income professionals, listen up. Have you ever considered that by funding a 401k or IRA, you are potentially creating a massive tax burden when you retire? Contrary to what you hear from traditional advisors and accountants, 401k or IRA do not save on taxes. It postpones the tax and tax calculation. Wealthy people don't have access to some special tax code. They use financial products, parts of the tax code that are available to everyone, including you and Strategy. Would you like to learn how to take advantage of the tax code? All right, well, check this out. Our guy, Ethan Dawe, the owner of Innovative Financial Solutions, has clients throughout the USA and is a nationally recognized expert in the veterinary community. You know how we love to save puppies. So contact Ethan at 251-243-6038 or email him, ethan@ethandawe.com. Ethan Dawe is your alternative to traditional financial planning. Tell him the War Report sent you.
And we're back. So before we get into some of the rest of these super chats here, the thing that we hope would not happen, man. Just your hope level moving forward with this Auburn football team, and what are some things that you want to see happen going into spring?
Well, I think it's pretty, to me, and I'm taking our early signing day recruiting haul as a sign that we are definitely far more stable, or we're selling our pitch correctly on defense, because our major pickups were on defense.
Yeah.
I think it's very telling that offensive line, you could sell to any recruit that we got a bunch of seniors leaving. We weren't that good anyway. You're going to come in here, hit it hard in the spring and summer camp, and you're going to be playing early because you're a physical freak if you're pitching the best offensive lineman, and you're going to have a chance to play early and immediately. Instead, what we got is a bunch of defensive players who were committed to coming here to play for these defensive coaches, while we had guys who are bordering on going to the NFL, but they might not even go. But they're like, I don't care. I want to come play for y'all. That's always a great decision when you can get richer at a place that you're rich. It means that you're doing well there. You want to go to, I don't know, if you want to go to a job, if they're leading a certain place, hey, man, I want to get paid high dollar. Well, you want to go work for a major tech firm because I know that they're paying good money. Yeah, you got plenty of talent there, but y'all want the best. I think I'm the best. I'm going to go there. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to get more money. The competition, people don't mind competition when they think you know what you're doing. If you can't convince some 4-star offensive linemen, some 4-star wide receivers, better quarterback right now, and I'm not going by stars. Stars are misleading. I want to stop going stars as much, because Bo Nix was a 5-star quarterback, but I don't think he was a better quarterback than Nick Marshall. You know what I mean? There is definitely a disconnect between stars and what you can do on the field mentally once you get there. Like we talked about the mental part of the game. But we've got so many holes on offense and we picked up so little in those key positions. To me, it means these recruits do not yet trust what we are trying, or these coaches can't sell it yet. Now, I don't know why that is. I have no idea. I don't know if to blame that on Bobo. I don't know if to blame that on Harsin. I don't know if to blame that on Will Friend. I know that the guy who we heard every time we talk to Christian Clemente or be mad at auburnsports.com, and we talk about the guys who are really killing it recruiting when they're there at the facility, when they have recruiting weekends, it's Nick Eason, it's Zach Etheridge. And what do you know? We're loaded up in the secondary and on the defensive line. How was that a coincidence? It's not. You combine that with the play that we showed in some critical games this season on defense. Offense lost us way more games this year than the defense did. So what it says to me is that, yeah, we can sit and hope it's going to get better with the quarterback position and maybe some offensive line maturity. But honestly, I don't have the confidence that offense is just going to turn around because of another year passing, because we're flipping the calendar by a year. It's going to take a singular, dynamic quarterback talent, because that's the only thing that can cover the transgressions of poor or inconsistent offensive line play and poor or inconsistent wide receiver play. That is it. The I've ever seen lift a team, an entire offense from one position is quarterback. That's it. So if that guy comes in, he makes everybody look better than they are. And then all of a sudden we look competent. Oh, wow, man, they put up 40 points on Georgia that game. I mean, we did that a few years back, but I mean, that's far the exception more than the rule. If you can do that, then you can sell guys. You can sell guys on some holes that you have on your offense, but it looks like you don't know what you're doing so many times this year. It looked like we didn't know what we were doing. And as much as I know that Harsin and maybe even Gus, while he was here, you want to sell to your guy at quarterback. If you want to recruit an all-world quarterback, you're going to say, listen, man, you're going to get in here. You're going to be my guy, and I'm not going to abandon you because I stuck with that guy. I prepped him and I raised him up in the system, and he didn't get it done, but I'm going to give you time to get it right. So if you struggle, don't worry about it. You're my guy. Yeah, but you're also telling that guy if he's not in the number one spot, you're not going to bench the number one guy, even if he's playing poorly, and I'm not going to get a shot. That's the flip side of that as well. Right. Play on the field and those coaching decisions are still recruiting decisions. So if you stick with the poor playing guy, you're telling me as the guy who didn't get the start, you're never seeing the field, kid. Don't come here. And that's just what it is. So I am now concerned, because not just because of what I've seen from us this game. Again, I said this last week. It's an exhibition game. I don't put too much stock into exhibition games. I just don't, because the game doesn't count.
It counts, but it's an asterisk.
Right. So for that reason, what I did learn about this game is that when the number one quarterback is playing poorly, he doesn't get sat down. How does that sit for me as a wide receiver going out there killing it, beating my corner, beating my guy, and I can't get the ball, but you're telling me I need to keep doing that for what, 4 more drives? I'm just out there for exercise. I don't want that. Yeah, I'm going to get on the field, but who you got throwing to me? I need to be productive so I can get to the NFL, but you're going to stick with the guy who's overthrowing me or underthrowing me or not seeing me when I'm over there by myself. I'm not going to come there for that. And the same thing with the offensive line. Hey, man, your guy's getting killed. You're telling me that's how you want to play here? I'm not sending my son, the parents, I'm not sending my son back over there to get killed because you couldn't get guys to protect him. No. So that's the concern I have now is struggled some, but mostly they played well this year, and then they got better players. The offense struggled a lot, but they also had spots where they played really well. But it looks like the decisions being made on the offensive side aren't attractive for new recruits. And that is my concern now, as we have picked up very little to address our situation at offensive line and wide receiver. So that's what I'm worried. That's what my new worry is we can hope it gets better, think it gets better, some better coaching decisions. I do think we'll be better offensively between play caller and coordinator. I think that situation is an improvement. You get a guy from the NFL versus a college guy who has been making the rounds because he's been mediocre everywhere he's gone. That's an improvement. However, you got to have the talent. And if what we've done in year one is repelling talent, that means we've got to do something major to finish up this recruiting cycle and get guys out of the portal to plug those holes quick, or it might actually look just as bad as it looked this season.
I think with that, we kind of gotten a lot of the wants and needs. We kind of addressed a lot of our wants and needs elsewhere. Mm-hmm. Your only focus is QB and O-line at this point. It's not like we're you may find another receiver, who knows, but I think the offensive side of the ball has to be the priority this final month of recruiting. This coaching staff has to show that we can go out and address needs in this final month going into spring. And so I think that moving forward, we just got to look better on offense. We're going to have to look competent and cohesive next season. And I think that spills into Eric's point. Harsin won't make it into year 3 with another season like this. Harsin won't make it into year 3 with another offensive performance like this, is like we've seen. And this is, listen, and the pressure is on him offensively because he's an offensive guy. Harsin is an offensive guy. So his offense has to become the strength of this team. I mean, thank God we have good defensive coaches on our team that can help keep us in games. Mm-hmm. But the identity of Auburn moving forward has to be that of a competent offensive team that can score points and move the ball when need be. Yeah, because your coach is an offensive-minded guy. So moving forward, this offense has to begin to take the identity on of its head coach. We can't be an offense that's depending on the defense to carry us or keep us in games just so that we can be in striking distance to hopefully make it a contest. No, we have to start taking some pressure off of our defense.
Yeah.
We have to become a team that, hey, if our defense plays as well as they have been, we are running teams off the field because our offense is getting it done.
Yep.
That has to be the next step that this offense takes, is that we're an offensive school because we have an offensive-minded coach.
Yeah.
Al Dente says it may take a transfer QB to get us 9 wins next year. Let's hope we capitalize with a transfer like a Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, Burrow, Fields, and Newton. I don't know who's in the portal who's like those guys, but
those guys aren't in the portal, man. and if you notice, each of those guys went to situations that were ideal, and with our offensive line and wide receiver core as they currently are, we are not in an ideal situation. Like Russell Wilson, he went to Wisconsin because he wanted to be a pro and he knew they ran a pro style offense. But lots of teams are running more pro-friendly offenses now than they were 10 years ago. And on top of that, the pros aren't necessarily just pro style anymore. There are plenty of offensive coordinators in the pros that are opening things up that are looking more like college plays. And you don't have to be just pro style. Kyler Murray, he went to Oklahoma where Lincoln Riley was apparently the QB whisperer. We don't have that reputation. Burrow went to LSU where they were loaded with wide receiver talent because, I mean, why not? Fields went to Ohio State where they were loaded with offensive talent because why not? And Cam Newton came here because, y'all know why he came here. It's all good.
Don't do that, B. But yeah, for Russell Wilson, I mean, Wisconsin is known for what, B? Having big nasties up front.
Yep, great offensive line, running the ball.
It's an ideal situation. Remember, he had an opportunity to come to Auburn. It was between Wisconsin and Auburn, and right off the heels of the national championship team where we lost our O-line and Wisconsin still had theirs, it made it a very easy decision for Russell Wilson.
He made the right decision.
Absolutely. It was an easy decision to make.
Yeah.
So again, you can contact a guy, but just like what happened with the kid out of USC, he's going to go to a place that's better suited for him. So again, we have to show something up front and address those needs to begin to pull those guys here. Jazzy Joe, good to see you, man. War Eagle, y'all. Bruce will get us a W tomorrow. I sure hope so.
That's right.
I hope that this pain I'm feeling is short-lived. Lee Bands here says our QBs seem to have their eyes in the wrong place most times. I think what was true of Finley today, and I saw it with Bo a lot, is they seem to lock in on certain receivers.
Mhm.
And because of that, they tend to miss guys who do find themselves getting open in the defense. And so I think that's one of the things. And pressure can play a part in that, but I saw that particularly with Finley. He kind of locked in on certain receivers. He did that actually against Georgia State early on in a few drives. He was going, I think he was hitting capers or going after capers a lot in the Georgia State game. So that's something that he's definitely been guilty of zeroing in on certain receivers.
Yeah, he did.
Al Dente comes back and says, can we talk about Smoke always leading with the crown of his helmet? He has to lead NCAA in targeting calls, can't get right. We talked about this earlier as well.
Yeah.
That's just, again, I don't know how he's going to fare in an NFL draft because his biggest strength is that he plays downhill. Right. He's not really a strength in pass coverage. He's shown that he's a bit vulnerable in that area. But even when he plays the run or plays downfield, he's so overly aggressive and he lacks the fundamentals to form tackle or get a guy down or just make contact to separate the guy from the ball. He tends to go for the knockout blow. And in doing that, the very thing that you alluded to this B in one of our, as we were talking during the game, the thing that they're trying to get out of the game, he ends up doing more times often than not, which is that big hit and launching at players. And so whether it's a block or a tackle or a pass breakup, he finds himself in this predicament or in this situation. And I think that's just been the frustrating thing about him in his final game. It just kind of epitomizes his whole career. He's been this overly aggressive guy who sometimes just ends up on the wrong side of a targeting call.
Yeah.
And the first one I didn't think was targeting, but the second one I got real quiet because I think this is the one. I think this is the one. So best wishes to Smoke. I hate again that targeting call was a big one because of what it meant for our offense.
Right. So, we were on their side of the field. I think we were at their 40 and we ended up on our 35 or something.
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Like we was inside the 40. Like we were in scoring position actually.
Yeah. I think we were in field goal range already. Yeah.
Yeah. So the momentum shift was that penalty was just huge on multiple levels. Brian Hancher super chats us. Appreciate you. I think you were trying to chat us something. I'll look to see. Here it is. DD is what, 18? He's number 18. He might not be ready. Don't know.
Were you talking about his age right there, or his
18
number?
or 19? Probably 18 or 19. Probably talking about his age.
He might not be, but I mean, it's college, man. What, 1 year out of high school? That's it. You either, and it's not to say that as soon as you hit the field, you're going to be the guy. That's not to say that at all. What I've said this before. I don't know how you felt about it, C, but I think if a guy is that guy, once you hit the field, there's going to take some adjustment time, but we're going to know it. We're going to be able to see that potential. You're going to be able to reach that potential within a year for sure. By matter of fact, if you're that guy, you're going to start day one. By the end of the season, you are going to show why you are a very special player. And that's it. If you're putting a guy in and you're hoping that in year 3 he's going to turn into something he hadn't been, I don't think so. If you get a full year of starting, you are who you are. I don't know if his age has as much to do with that. I think the year sitting is probably good for him though. Like that fire up underneath him. Give him a year to focus and make sure his head is on straight for the coming QB battle in the spring. But I don't know if his age has that much to do with that, but his experience, sure. So he should be ready though.
One thing that I don't have an answer to that I'm curious about, B, is I just wonder what the communication is like between these coaches and these players. What are the coaches saying to Demetrius Davis? Let's assume Demetrius Davis isn't ready. What is Harsin telling Demetrius Davis in terms of what he needs to do? Listen, you're my second, you're getting second team reps. That means I'm getting close to where I'm going to have to depend on you in a game situation. I need you focused. I need you working harder than ever. We saw a video of him in the offseason working, trying to get his name in the competition. But what has the communication been like? Again, we don't know what that is or how close Demetrius Davis is to being ready, but I hope that the coaching staff is in his head telling him you need to be ready because your time, the opportunity you've been waiting for is getting closer and closer. Be ready when your number is called. So I don't know if those conversations are being had or what, but the time for us to see what Demetrius Davis can do is getting closer and closer.
Yes, for sure.
Chris K says, the main thing I saw with Demetrius Davis from bowl practice is that he actually leads the wide receiver with the pass so that the wide receiver can take it in stride. Interesting. Probably,
I didn't see that practice footage, so I'm not sure. Oh, it would have been cool to see that.
Yeah. Rick says, no excuse for not allowing Demetrius Davis to play some. If Demetrius Davis becomes Harson's Malik Willis, he will be run out of time as he hasn't adapted to portal football. I don't want another Malik Willis situation.
No, I don't either.
The only way I will be okay with it if the guys in front of him have proven that they are the dude.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened yet. So I don't want Demetrius to leave without getting an opportunity to prove that he's the guy. Right. And so I think what happened with Malik is that you had a guy who went elsewhere and now is going to be making millions in just a matter of months while we still had question marks at QB, right? I don't want us to still have questions at the QB position and a talented QB leaves. Like I think that's the tragedy in it all. Like if we get this QB thing figured out and we lose a guy, not saying it's Demetrius, but let's say it's Holden or whatever QB we get coming in after Holden Garner. If we lose one of those guys just because there's just too much talent in the room and our QB situation is stabilized, then I can live with that. Right. We saw if you're Alabama, you're not tripping out that Jalen Hurts went to Oklahoma and tore it up. They were rooting for Jalen Hurts, right? They were happy for Jalen Hurts, right? Because you were happy with who you had, Tua. Right. So the thing with us is we don't want to be in a situation where we're bitter, so to speak, because the guy leaves Auburn and ends up killing it and tearing it up. Meanwhile, we could have used him. So I don't want one of those situations. And again, this spring becomes very important because I want Demetrius Davis and whoever else to get a fair shot at this QB position.
Sure.
D. Tawana Hill says, just because we had 5 or 6 good players does not mean we had a good team. Honestly, the majority of this past team wouldn't start anywhere else and probably would not have been recruited by this staff. Hard to say if this has been recruited. I mean, these are not this coaching staff's guys for sure. I know Tank, a lot of people would love to have Tank. You know, and like to her point, we got about 5 or 6 great players. I think on defense, we would have some guys who would start
on defense
a lot of
for
different
sure.
schools.
Zacoby could have started anywhere. Roger McCreary could have started anywhere. So I think a few guys on the defensive line and edge could have started pretty much anywhere. Yeah. It's offense. There are way more holes.
It's just deficiencies. And I think this goes back to the fact that I think as Auburn fans, we need to understand that the defensive side of the ball has been the most developed side over the past 5 to 6 years. The defense has been progressing and the offense has been regressing. Yeah. So with this coaching staff coming in, there actually it's going to look questionable. It's going to look bad. Because the offense has never really been just spectacular or great. And I think we got some, and because we haven't addressed some key issue areas like offensive line, it's going to look pretty bad at times with this QB transition. So I think we got to give Harsin and his coaching staff some time to try to get the right guys in here and hopefully turn this offense around. I just think the defense is just far ahead of the offense, and that's just been the story of Auburn for the past several years.
Agree.
Lawrence Robinson says Harsin with this offensive line and QB was still able to spread the ball around to different players. He did a good job to me. Listen, it kind of boils down.
The play calling, yeah.
A lot of it was just execution in certain areas at times.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if we hit certain throws, certain plays are made, we win this game because, again, Auburn was in striking distance the entire game. Kudos to the defense for keeping us in there. And we just had to make some more plays than what we did. The opportunities were there. I'm not mad at Harsin for how he called the game. Again, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more carries for Tank. That's just me being, I want to keep our best offensive player happy as possible. So that part of me wanted to see a few more carries, but I'm not mad at some of the passing calls because guys were there. Right. So it's hard to be mad at that.
Yeah.
Big homie, appreciate you for the $10 super chat. And I think we are towards the end. I don't see any more, but just in closing, man, we're an hour and a half in. We can go ahead and get out of here. But just in closing, man, I want to say that I'm curious to see what the month of January is for this football team in terms of recruiting.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what this staff does as it pertains to the portal. If we do go out and address a quarterback, that's going to be a big one. If we go out and actually bring in a QB, that says a lot about what the coaching staff feels it has. Right. And after this game, I would kind of be surprised if Auburn didn't go to the portal and at least try to get a QB, assuming who's out there. Guys can still hit the portal after these bowl games are over with. So I'm curious to see what happens in the month of January. It's going to be interesting. But that's all I got, man. I think hopefully these young guys can come out and show with another winter workout, strength and conditioning, get stronger for spring, getting ready to go out there and show something. I'm looking for this team to bounce back and be better in 2022 than they were this year. What you got, B?
I'm looking for them to be better. And to your point from one of the last questions, I do think that we weren't set up to succeed at quarterback and offensive line and wide receiver for a while. We've got a lot of guys who, while they have improved, I mean, like today we saw Kobe with the drops again. You know what I'm saying? The same thing that's played him all year. D-Rob wasn't quite the addition that we thought he could be. And we need a true number one wide receiver. We need about 3 pieces along the offensive line. And we need, again, the type of guy we talked about at quarterback. Mentally, he's completely there. He just needs some of the physical tools, and mentally he's got them all. But we've got a couple guys that have either all the physical tools or most of them. So it's really up to these coaches to get the guys that we have here in the game, put them through their paces so they are mentally the guys that we need them to be. Because if you're not going to be 100% just stacked with talent at every other position, you're going to have to be a QB that can do some of everything. So hopefully these coaches are preparing that. Hopefully they aren't too stuck on one guy or too stuck on experience. Right. That's not a game we can afford to play. All right. We can't afford to play that game. We're too deficient at too many positions. But the reason I'm still not down on Harsin is because you're supposed to recruit a whole new offensive line in 1 year or in 2 years. I mean, it's really tough, hard pickings. It's tough. So you got to start that momentum at those positions. Become a place where those positions play well. We don't have a problem at running back. We don't have a problem at defensive line. We don't have a problem at cornerback because we've been able to have, like you said, very good play at those positions over the last 5 years. You've got to start somehow in the midst of everybody around you recruiting better and better and better, having more success and more stability. You've got to be able to pull some key talent. Those guys, I don't know how you do it. You haven't had the offense that says, come here and succeed wide receiver, come here and succeed quarterback, but you've got to put enough on film to give those players and their parents confidence to say, I see what you're trying to do and I believe it. And honestly, in year 1, I don't think they were able to do it. I don't. Yeah. I don't think they were able to do it. So now it becomes an even harder task in year 2 because you've got to make it with just what you've got. Hopefully they finish the recruiting season strong and plug. You don't have to plug every hole with a spectacular player. We just have marginally better everywhere you can. And if we get a quarterback with a very high floor, he doesn't have to have the highest ceiling. A high floor quarterback makes everything look good. We win 2 to 3 more games with a quarterback that knows what to do in critical times, sees the whole field, and makes a decent throw on mid-range throws or can hit a wide open route. We're not asking somebody to thread the needle on every throw. We're asking somebody to sit, read, react accordingly, and be accurate. So hopefully they can get that out of the players that we have, start the momentum in 2022 that will lead to those much better recruits at those critical positions in the 2023 cycle and going forward.
Well said, man. Well said. Listen, guys, it's the final game of the 2021 football season, but at the War Report, there's no such thing as the off season because tomorrow we're going to be right back here with our Wednesday night War Room, guys. We're going to actually be discussing this game further and also discussing what we hope to be is an Auburn victory over LSU on the hardwood.
Yeah.
So you guys definitely want to tune in for that. But for now, guys, we're out. War Eagle as always. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
War Eagle.